Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the another episode of Virtual Global Leadership Dialogues. Initially I was calling it podcast, but I realized that we are exchanging meaningful dialogues. And when we talk about even in the global context, even in the geopolitical context, it's the dialogues between the countries. The diplomacy happens, and it is called as dialogues. So that is what inspired me to use dialogues as a concept. And when we use the term dialogues, it could mean so many things. It could mean a leader sharing their perspective. It could be an interesting observation that they have made over the years of experience, or it could also mean that something needs to be done. There are some uncovered hidden insights that need to be brought out, and that and also one more thing, even it could be a debate on something, so that we can come at a meaningful outcome. So today, we are taking this one step ahead, and we are going to discuss Pradnya's journey. uh, it's been a privilege having Pradnya for the second time on this podcast slash dialogues. Last time we discussed about Pradnya's experience as a remote leader, as a remote leadership coach. Also, Pradnya's wonderful journey. Today we are here to discuss one of the wonderful book that Pradnya and a wonderful team of leaders have co-authored. That's called Thriving to Greatness. So, welcome, Pradnya. How are you?
Hey Sagar, so glad to be on your dialogue. I really love this new metaphor that you have come up with. I think podcast seems, little one-way conversation, but as you rightly said, it's a dialogue where we interact with the global audience, and I'm really glad that you've invited me today, and I'm going to utilize this opportunity fully to interact with your global audience. Thank you, Sagar.
Yeah, you're most welcome, Pradnya. Before we dive deep into the conversation and discuss about the book that is Striving to Greatness, it would be wonderful if you could give a uh, you know, brief intro on the work that you have been doing. It would be wonderful for the audience.
Sure, Sagar. So I started my journey in this remote work leadership concept almost 3 years back when I was into IT project management, and I faced a lot of issues when we had to work remotely due to pandemic. So it was a sudden change for us. However, that was a journey which resulted in a lot of learning and a lot of new insights for me, which I have been compiling, and I have been using it to educate the global audience, especially the IT leaders who are handling remote teams. Because my vision is to create belonging, connectivity, and high performance in remote teams. And that's the reason I founded my coaching and consulting company, which is Orient Consulting, with which I'm able to make a global impact by conducting trainings and coaching the remote leaders so that they can bring about high performance in their teams, Sagar.
Wonderful. And why you're expressing remotely? Like why? I mean, just to get a deep insight into your mind, that I'm sure you running a consulting and a coaching firm, I'm sure you would have introspected a lot. So what makes you to do that in this let's say sphere?
So it happened pretty much by accident, Sagar. I never, like, if you we had met, let's say 3 4 years back, I would never imagine that I would become a coach or a consultant in this arena. However, like, it was accident with the silver lining, I would say, that happened in pandemic. And because I was thrown into this water and I had to learn how to swim, but during that process I just discovered a good side of remote working. So first time in my life, I could experience small joys of life, like watching sunset, or just watching birds, uh, devoting time for my hobbies. And then suddenly I felt that I was missing so much during all these years, where I was mostly spending my time traveling to and fro to office, right? So I was in that cycle, okay? Monday to Friday, work hard, sleep, again work hard. And then, I was constantly waiting for my next weekend, next weekend, next weekend. So I felt as if I have been postponing, my joy, which I suddenly discovered when I started working remote. And that's where I felt, hey, this is wonderful, why not, I really want this lifestyle. So I fell in love with that lifestyle, and then I just adjusted, my career around my lifestyle, basically.
Wow, wow. Any advice or suggestions for remote leaders on how they can plan that transition effectively?
Sure, yeah. So I would say they can start with by experimenting first. I think that's the first mental block we need to overcome, because many a times we have been so conditioned by society, and even by what CEOs are saying, by what global leaders are saying. However, I would advise leaders to really listen to their true self. What is their inner voice saying? And what is it that they are looking for in life? What are their priorities? How do they feel about how their work is impacting their mental health, their relationship with their loved ones, close family members, their physical health. And I believe everybody has thinks about some higher purpose, some contribution that they want to make to the society. So this is a time wherein leaders have to really reflect upon what kind of working model is allowing them to live a full life, wherein they can do justice to all the spheres of life, not only work, but about it's all about having a balanced life where you are doing justice to your talents, you're spending a quality time with your family, you're taking care of your physical and mental health, and overall you really experience the blissful life. So I think it's time to make the bold choice and really choose where you want to work.
Interesting, interesting. Thank you, Pratya, for sharing that. Now, I'm a little curious to know. Um, I mean, thank you first of all for sharing the copy of book "Thriving to Greatness" with me, and it's been wonderfully, articulated, and a lot of fantastic brains have worked and given their heart out to put their perspectives in the book. um you know like, how did this happen? We see, I mean, this is collaboration at its best, because I see a wonderful leaders from multiple spheres coming in and sharing their chapter. So whose brainchild was it, and how did this happen?
Oh yeah, I mean there's an interesting story behind this, Sagar. So it's I think the credit goes to Amandeep Tin, who is an international public speaker, and he's the one who has mentored us, and he has really kept the flock together. He has basically coordinated among 13 of the authors, uh, which are coming from so many diverse backgrounds. So I happened to join one of the online webinars of Amandeep, wherein he talked about this concept. And I thought, hey, this is very really interesting, because the rest of the authors that I was supposed to collaborate with, they came from a totally different background, so there are so many inspiring people, there's Isra Jane Parker. So she's literally she has undergone brain tumor surgery, and she's living that experience, wherein she's really struggling with her health issues, and then in spite of that, she's not only thriving in her career but also building a side hustle as a coach. And similarly, there are so many other consultant coaches and so many inspiring personalities, which if you read about their journey, it'll really inspire you. And it sometimes it made me feel that, hey, my challenges are nothing in front of these guys. If they can do it, I can do it too. So that's the core message of this book, that you know the reader will get.
And how did you finalize this name, "Thriving to Greatness"? It could have been called something else. How did this happen?
Oh yeah, I mean, so we had a lot of brainstorming discussions initially, wherein we were thinking about the theme of the book, that okay, what should be the theme. So then we had like different options, like self development, and then overcoming the limiting beliefs, having a winner's mindset, right? So we had multiple options, but then we were looking for a common thread that runs through all these pearls, like everyone's story that everybody can resonate with. So I think what we realized from our brainstorming is that no matter what happens, human beings, at the core, we have this desire to grow. So each and everything that we experience, like any challenge that we accept in life, and sometimes it is it we may not like it, but rather any challenge that life is throwing at you, it is, so either we take initiative to grow, or else life throws a challenge at you wherein you have to grow through that situation, wherein you upgrade yourself to your next version, next best self. So that was a theme that came out from everyone's story, and that's how we selected this title, Thriving to Greatness.
Interesting, interesting. So, Pradna, it would be wonderful to know, what are their top, let's say, three, four purposes, or let's say, I would say maybe you can have a short pitch on why should we read this book. That would be the good way to put this out.
Sure, Sagar. So, like I already talked about, like overcoming the challenges. But like there are some, common blockages that stop us from thriving. So I'll, answer it in a reverse manner. Okay, let's think about what stops us from thriving in life, right? So the
Hmm.
very first is our limiting beliefs, right? The mindset that we have. So many a times we don't even think of a possibility, because we think we don't think we can do something great, right? I think that's the first one. Second one is not allowing your, not really giving wings to your dreams, and not really exploring the possibilities. So let's say even if you have some idea, instead of thinking about, okay, I can't do this, or this seems impossible, why not think about, okay, what can I do to explore, to test out this idea? Can I do a pilot project and see how it goes, right? That's the second one. And third and most important one is having a good mentor, because personally, what I have experienced is all the growth that I have witnessed in my own career, and even with my fellow co-authors, all of them, they had a great mentor who pushed them to really go beyond their limits, and that's how they were able to transform themselves. So these are the three things that you need, three ingredients. And if you want to really see, look at this with the real life experiences of people from diverse backgrounds, then you must read Thriving to Greatness.
Wonderful, wonderful. While you were sharing this, I had an interesting idea, and I thought, why not do this here? So for the next 10 minutes, I will be, let's say, you're in the investigation bureau, and I'll be asking you some questions with an
Hmm.
investigative, purpose. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I might even push your boundaries. Okay. So
Okay.
let's go. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be fun, Sagar. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, great. So why do you think people give up easily?
Not having enough faith in themselves and their dreams. I think, yeah,
And why
that's the top reason.
and why is faith important?
Because faith is something that keeps you driving. As in, you need some vision, right? Something which really fires you up every day when you wake up in the morning. No matter whether you have resources or not. No matter what is your financial condition, what is your personal situation, you need some bigger vision that really acts as a fuel, which stimulates you once you, okay, get up in the morning. Yes, I want to work on this. So you need that vision, you need that faith in yourself, to really keep going. And third most important is a thing is a patience. you need a lot of patience uh, to go through that experience for the long term.
You mentioned it's very important to have mentors in life, right? To push the boundaries, right? So a lot of times when someone, I mean, when people push their boundaries, it becomes like a stress. So do you agree
Yes,
with this? Do you agree with this?
absolutely. I do.
Yeah. So how does it help then?
Yeah, I mean, there are times, like I have personally experienced this. So recently, yeah, I've been through a workshop, and then, yeah, I'll give you, my own example. So then what happened is that workshop was so extensive, like, we had to wake up at 5 o'clock, start the workshop at 6 o'clock, and it would go until 11:30, 12, right? So there was hardly any time to sleep, and then plus there was some homework to be done. Okay. So then one day I didn't do my homework. Okay. And then I just, yeah, went for the workshop. But then the teacher was so strict. So he made all my team members stand outside the class. He said, you guys are not allowed, because if I'm making a mistake, my whole team has to suffer. Okay. And then we were standing like, almost 2 3 hours, and we missed so much, of the knowledge. And then I was like, it really triggered me, uh, like it triggered me like anything. I was so angry. I was like, okay, I don't want to attend this. I'm going back home, right? That's the reaction I had. But then I just slept, and then, went back to my room. I slept, I meditated, and then next day, I thought, hey, there is another perspective to look at it. Maybe definitely, there's something. See, it's my mistake. First is I have to admit to myself. I have to be honest that okay, I didn't do homework. That's the reason my team suffered, and that's why I got triggered. So my teacher is absolutely right, because he has to instill this discipline, and then he's just demonstrating it by making us stand outside. So first is I have to admit my mistake, and then I have to work on my punctuality, right? Even if it is hard, okay, I have to make sure that I'm doing my homework, right? So I just changed my perspective. Actually, a lot of my the participants who came for the program, they also came to my room. So I was very reluctant to go back. I was feeling very insulted, but they said, hey, you know what, I mean, see, sir is trying to teach you some lesson here. So why don't you focus on this, and see, if you don't come, he'll again, he'll have a new punishment for all of us. So I thought, okay, at least my team members should not suffer because of me. So then I decided to go back. I was like pretty upset whole day. But then, by the end of the program, I felt very satisfied. And ultimately, I also learned that, lesson. Hey, my mentor is really trying to improve me, and he wants me to become a better leader, right? He wants me to be accountable, reliable, responsible. That's the reason, he like gave me that punishment. And my job, so it even pinched me a lot because I'm a coach, right? So then I was telling myself, I can't preach something to others if I am not practicing it myself, right? So first I have to admit that if I'm not accountable, I'm not doing my homework on time, let me accept it, let me improve myself, then only I have any right to coach others. It really pinched me. So then, yeah, by the end of the program, I was like, I really thanked, our teacher, and it was hard for me, but really, yeah, I think that's the sign of a real mentor. And even my mentor was so happy. So he said, yeah, I'm really glad that you completed it, and then you took it positively, and then you improved it, right? So yeah, so I think that's the real mentor, somebody who thinks about, okay, what's good for this person, not necessarily about how the mentee is feeling, but what is in their best interest. I think that's the sign of a good mentor.
So, Pradna, there are so many mentors and coaches. You just Google and you will find it. As a person, how do I identify that this person, this mentor or coach is right for me? Because there is so much of content, there is so much of information out there that potential coaches or potential people, they might just get distracted. So how do you find? How do you channelize that?
That's a great question, Sagar. So I can talk about how I have selected my mentors, or rather how my mentors have picked me. It's the other way around also. So I think I go with somebody whom I vibe with, as in whom I feel okay, we are on the same wavelength. It also matters like how comfortable I am to share about my issues with them, because I think unless we have that psychological safety, I won't even open up to somebody, right? That is the
Yeah,
second thing. And I think one more important thing is how their intention is, or how they are treating other mentees. That's one of the biggest factors, because see, I mean, like as you rightly said, there's so much of marketing and advertisement, right, going on the internet, and everybody's putting out great content. But to me, it's all about whom I resonate with more, right? uh, Even at a deeper level, whom I feel comfortable with, and who's thinking in my best interest, right? Who's thinking about my welfare, who's ready to give me that candid feedback, even if it doesn't feel good in the moment, but yeah, it's for my own good. So I think yeah, go with the low ticket investment first, and see how's your experience before you associate with someone for the long term. That's my mantra.
yeah, that's a great suggestion. I think you have to go with the low ticket, this thing, low ticket,
Yeah,
let's say, engagement, and then you can take it to another level. Also, Pradna, you yourself are very, you're a person, you're yourself a leadership expert, and you have been into leadership positions. So you have a very very professional way of looking at it. But what if someone is at ground zero, and and they are confused in their life, and they are just spending their time on social media, LinkedIn and coaching platforms to figure out, um, of course, this is a wonderful suggestion, the low ticket engagement. But then how do they prioritize their needs, so that they get the right coach or the mentor or the consulting company?
yeah. That's a great question, Sagar. So what I would say is, first they can, first they have to look at the content that they are producing, right? Whether they resonate with the content or not, right? So that's the step number one, because if they really understand your problem, then only they would have some solution, right, for you. That's step number one, right? Second step is, just try to attend, they have a lot of free webinars, or 300 rupees workshops that a lot of coaches provide. So attend those workshops, and then just see whom they are connected with. So once you go to social media profile of any coach or mentor, you'll get to understand there are certain people who are in their close circle, right, or some fans or audience that they interact with closely. Then make it a point to talk to them. So you can just connect with them on LinkedIn or Instagram, get their phone number and just talk to them, and just ask, hey, how's your experience about this, right? So get some real time feedback, because what is written on the reviews ratings could be totally different from somebody's real time experience. So I would say, talk to multiple people uh, before you decide to commit to somebody. Yeah, because I have personally done that. And also always make it a point to observe how they are treating other mentees, because one day you'll be treated the same way. And yeah, it
Mm,
goes both ways, right? So,
yeah,
and that's one of the important factors, because I think not only mentor and mentee, but any relationship is based on mutual respect, trust. Yeah, those are the foundations that we need to have in place.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pradnya, for answering these questions. I mean, they were not tough, but I think the questions are some of the, let's say, common, I would say, roadblocks in terms of decision making. So I just wanted to put it as it is. Now, coming back to the wonderful book, Thriving to Greatness. Uh, so what is your story, Pradnya? What is it that why is that you participated in this process, in this collective process, and why your story needs to be told?
Yeah. So my story is like, I've been into IT for a long time. And at one point I thought I'm really following my passion, and yeah, this is the perfect uh, profession for me. That's the like concept I had in my mind for so many years, because I was great at technology and maybe management. That's what I thought about myself. But during last 3 to 4 years, I had this feeling that okay, I need to do something else. Yes, I'm making money. I have this position status, but then my soul is craving for something else. I have I should experiment with something more. So I was kind of I had that feeling where I didn't know what is it that I need to do, but I was just thinking, okay, what can I do? Okay, if I have to start my business, then I thought, okay, it's a double hard work. Even if I start my software development company, I'll be already I'm working for 12 to 14 hours. Then I'll be working even harder. But then that's not my ideal dream life. So I was contemplating on this, and that's when somewhere this pandemic happened. And in pandemic, right, because we were not able to go out basically. So in general what happens is, I mean, let's say if I'm upset or something is making me uncomfortable, I have a lot of options, right? I can go out for shopping, I can go to library or maybe some music program, and that distracts my mind and gives me a temporary relief, right? That's how generally we deal with something stressful. But in pandemic we were forced to do inner reflection. That's what I went through, because there was nothing else to do for me. I couldn't go out. So a lot of core questions came to my mind, as in, okay, what is my purpose in life? Yeah, I've been doing this for so many years, but does it am I in the right profession? Does it align with my life purpose? Why I'm born on this earth, right? So those kind of questions came to my mind, and I did a lot of journaling on those basically. And at the right time I met great mentors who acted as a facilitator to that process of self discovery, I would say. And that's when I got a lot of new insights. I discovered many talents that I didn't even know I had these talents as well, right? I started experimenting. Okay, yeah, let me do this. Okay, let me simple thing, yeah, let me create a social media video. Okay, let me study about this thing, this new concept. Okay, how's everybody else solving this particular problem? Or let me just change my schedule. So instead of let's say doing 14 hours of work, maybe I'll do 10 hours of work, and yeah, to 1 hour I'll do some singing, 1 hour I'll do my painting. So simple things like just rearranging the schedule and just experimenting with different types of activities. So it was all I think the pandemic acted as a catalyst for me, really, Sagar.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. So, what is one chapter that we have not written in the book, because that is for us to explore? But had you had four more pages or eight more pages, what chapter you would have written? It would be wonderful to go through that chapter of your life.
That's a great question, Sagar, by the way. And yeah, this is something I really I thought of writing, but due to the limit on words, I couldn't write. So one of the hardest lessons I have learned is the lesson in boundaries, in my corporate career. Because I have been a very naive person. Like when I started my career, I would just I had this ideal frame in my mind, wherein I thought that okay, I'll come to office, I'll complete my work sincerely, and then automatically I'll get promoted, and I'll get raise or whatever. I'll automate. Yeah, my it's my manager's job, to make sure I'm progressing. That's the notion I had in my life. So during my 18 years, I have learned it really hard way of what it takes to be successful in corporate. So obviously it's not, yeah, your technical skills and your behavior skills are important, but there's a lot that goes behind the screens. like things like understanding the power dynamics, understanding the politics, right, internal politics, and dealing with difficult people. So I had really learned a lot of hard lessons in those things. And then the core, I think what I have learned is that basically I was wearing the rose colored glasses, where I wanted everything to be ideal, to be perfect. But then now I've learned that instead of expecting things to be perfect, why not look at it the way they are? Why not accept it the way they are? And then it's on me. It's my responsibility to change my strategy, uh, and think about how can I be successful without hurting anybody in the process, right? So yeah, that's the unwritten chapter, I would say, Sagar.
Any specific incident from your life that you're okay to share it with the viewers? Which makes you be part of this movement, which is thriving to greatness.
Yes, yes, absolutely, Sagar. So, one specific incident I would like to quote here, because this is related to the current situation, right? So, currently, as you know, there are a lot of layoffs going on, right? And so there's a little gloomy atmosphere in my circle. Yeah, at least that's what I've observed. Even some of the mentees that approach me. So sometimes so they have been fired in spite of having like good, decently good performance. They have been fired, and they have this they are so much disturbed mentally. So then I just try to motivate them and guide them so that they can make a next great move in their career. So I would like to quote one of my experiences here. Okay, so I have worked in a like one of the top service based companies in India. So I'll not name it. But like what happened is, I was doing great. So even I my manager sent me at on site because he thought I had great knowledge. And then I after 3 years I came back to India. So wherein, okay, I started sharing my knowledge with offshore so that I can educate people at the account level, so that they learn things faster, and then our delivery becomes better. So I did all that. But then what happened is, because of some internal politics, right, they just they gave me a lower rating. So generally, let's say if I was supposed to get 4 out of 5, they intentionally gave me 3 out of 5. Okay, because they wanted me to leave. Okay, so then initially it made me very upset. So I even talked to like a lot of higher managers, on-site authority, offshore authority. But then at one point, what I realized is that, hey, now this is what, yeah, the things are unfair. Okay, but then I have a choice, right? So either I keep on cribbing about it, right, and then I keep on crying and complaining. That's the one choice. And then I'll be in the same loop forever, and I won't even feel inspired to come at work. Or else I have a choice to look for a better opportunity, right, outside, which will be, and then I can look out for people who I resonate with, who care about my growth also, who are ready to be fair with me, right? So that's the hard conversation I had with myself. And then I was successfully able to, I just search for a new project in my current company. And I also at the same time I got outside opportunity as well, which was much better in terms of roles, responsibilities, and even the payments. So what I want to say is, like anybody who is going through this difficult situation, like layoff, or something unfair happened to them, I would say, just don't just waste time cribbing about it and complaining and fighting, because it just drains your energy. So instead, redirect your energy, your frustration, so that you can create your dream life. You can join somewhere which is your dream job, and you can do within the organization or outside the organization. But it's all about how you manage your mind, your emotions, and then it's all about focusing on our own progress. So yeah, that's, I think, one of the experiences which I wanted to share.
Yeah, wonderful. And Pradna, any inspiring story of co-authors that have written this book? If something that has really inspired you, if you want to share it with us, not exactly the one that is written in the book because that is for us to explore, but any other chapter, if something that has inspired you, feel free to share it with the viewers.
Sure, Sagar. So there's one of the co-authors, from UK. Her name is Esther Jane Parker. So she was discovered with a brain tumor last year. Okay, and then she had to undergo a surgery very urgently. And you know what? Like because of her brain tumor surgery, one of her eyes got affected. So literally, when she would come to our book meetings, right, she would have this eye covered. But
Mm.
the beauty of it is that like she has done some colorful work to hide, like as a cover for her eyes. And like what I love about her is like in spite of going through such a challenging situation, she's like really she's really inspires me every day, when I look at her posts. Like even if her surgery is over, and you know what, she has joined her office. Okay, so she is working in a university as a marketing professor, but she has trouble breathing. Basically she has to put on oxygen mask at least once in a week. But in spite of that, she goes for long nature walks. And like, and then she would admire the beauty of the nature, and where she has this one eye covered, she can barely breathe. But and it's so difficult for her. What she has done is, below her desk she has prepared a small cabinet where she can rest, because she doesn't have a lot of stamina, because of her breathing capacity is affected, right? She has to take rest, so she takes rest in between her working hours below her desk, and then starts working again. And you know what, like she has share her LinkedIn post with you. So for her students, right, in spite of going through this, she and her students, they have gifted her colorful heart shapes, basically. Okay, so that she heals and she feels better soon. And she's also coming up with a lot of creative ideas, right, for us, so as to make her class more interesting. And I am like, oh man, like if she's going through so much pain, how come she can think about still think about, okay, how can we make it interesting for my and enjoyable for my students. So she's like totally an inspiration, so I follow her. And she has really surged from this, the challenge that life has thrown us, and she's still going through it. But she's still sharing stories, and she's supporting the cause of brain tumor research by participating in the nature walks and other activities. And she's creating a lot of awareness about, okay, what action you should take urgently if you're going through a similar uh, situation, right? So I just admire her a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Pradnya, for sharing this inspiring story. I would love to connect with her. Uh,
Yes.
we have her on the podcast to share her story and share
Yeah.
her perspective. Um, Pradnya, in my experience, again, if please, share if if you resonate with this, and maybe if you have also read some reports or if you have any data to support what I am saying. In my 10 years of work experience or observe being in organizations that are uh, corporates plus uh, early stage companies, and also of course having run my own company, one thing that I have observed is uh, the human element in the way organization is structured uh, has completely, I would say, is has gone. I mean, there are startups and there are, of course, there are some organizations they are trying to keep that intact. I'm not taking away anything from them, but to a larger scale I see the human element, uh, maybe it exists, but in a very limited form or capacity. Like, I'll just give an example here. Okay, I mean, you gave an example of your incident about the rating aspect that you mentioned. Okay, and then examples of, leaders behaving in a particular way or conducting themselves in a particular way, which creates a effect where employees, apa- instead of being engaged, they are as if ki, okay, when is, when the day is going to end and I'm going to go home, you know uh, of course the work is happening in between. Of course they are listening to the leaders, things are progressing, they are also hitting their numbers, by the way. Okay, yeah. They're hitting the numbers, the sales numbers are being met. Okay, but the fulfillment, the completion, the feeling of completion and fulfillment somehow has disappeared. In my, I'm just being very direct, I was thinking of putting it diplomatically, but I'm not. I see that is disappeared in many organizations. So what are your thoughts, Pradnya, on this, and what are some of the blind spots or suggestions you would like to offer to leaders or employees, or for that matter all the stakeholders who are part of the organization organization's ecosystem?
That's a great question, Sagar. And I think it matters even more now because, as we can see, the remote work has really opened up global opportunities for people. Right, so it's really easy to lose on talent, basically, right? Unless we change our perspective, and even more because of the Gen AI explosion. As you rightly said, the human element in the leadership is becoming more and more relevant and significant now, because most of the logical thinking, critical thinking, even decision making can be assisted by AI. But this is a time we need to think about, okay, what really sets us apart from machines? What is it that makes us better human beings, right? So the answer to your question is multifold, Sagar. So especially as we have witnessed the economic growth since last 10, 20 years, right? So earlier, what was earlier, like, there was, people were dependent on each other because there was not so much of a economical prosperity, okay, especially in India, right? So we had to get help from each other, right? But now, as we are becoming more and more prosperous, the dependency is getting reduced, right? So it's like, okay, I don't need anybody's financial help. I don't need anybody's emotional support. And because of that, right, that is the first factor which makes us think that, hey, like, I can do this myself. Why do I need somebody? Okay, so if I have to translate it in the organizational context, then what, like, some of the organizations have, what they think is that, hey, if I'm making great if my revenue is good, my profits are good, all right, I can easily replace people. And then I can so I don't really have to get people emotionally invested in my company. Okay, I just have to monitor their performance, their numbers, and then if they are not doing well, I can just fire them without really being empathetic. I think that's a mindset some of the organizations have, right? But in the process, what they don't realize is that when you lose somebody from your company, especially if it's a long term employee, you lose a lot of knowledge, right? You lose a lot of the connections or the relationships that your employees have developed with key stakeholders, key clients, right? And when that employee goes, all those connections are broken. So indirectly, it impacts the business for sure, right? So there is this intangible aspect which you cannot really represent in numbers, but definitely, which does affect the company, right? So that is one of the factors. I think a lot depends on what are the values that the higher management upholds. A lot depends on that as well. So I'll give you my own example. So I was working with a company called Reconstruct, when the pandemic hit, and like, I was so surprised. there was a time when, it was so critical. I think it was wave 2, and there were like so many people. I lost so many of my relatives. And in general, even when, we would conduct team meetings, like, everybody was feeling very anxious. Like, we constantly kept on asking each other about, how's your family health, everybody. You won't believe, our operations manager called each and every employee in the company personally on phone, and he was literally, asking them about everybody's health and whether they need something. And even they tried to, help some employees, why, through other employees who were, living in this similar area, similar town, around same town. So they even tried to dispatch, that help. So they were caring at that level. So what if I was so moved by, their gesture. Yeah, I think Manoj Deshmukh is was operations manager at that time in B Construct. So I was like, I felt a lot of admiration and respect for him because of the way he was living the values, that. So so I think it's all about practicing the values. So the values is not something you put on your company website, but it is that the leaders demonstrate. And then whatever is, the high level management is doing, I think rest of the managers are, they're just going to copy it down. So it takes a lot of self awareness on the, top level manager. And it is really up to them to lead by example, I would say, Sagar. And then we have a choice. Okay, they also have a choice. So let's say, even if, they have to fire somebody, yeah, they may have to do it for the, practical reasons. But then it's also about how you do everything. It's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. And then what are the values and principles that you uphold in each and every activity and operation, each and every interaction. So that is a question leaders need to ask now.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, Pradya, see, this is a dialogue, okay, and there could be no X or a Y answer to a specific answer to this. But then sometimes I've realized that, uh, let's say, with specific to India at the moment, let's say we are moving out from, I would say, uh, for the lack of better word, I'm using the word, let's say, traditional ways of working to the futuristic way of working, and in between, we are in somewhere in between at the moment. And I mean, I'm not talking about just the technological transition, but the way communication is happening in India, and even with people around the globe. uh, I mean, that is also playing its part in almost all the mid to large size organizations, right? And then there are organizations which are very much system driven, process driven. um, but there are let's say I would say buffet of organizations where things are highly unstructured, where leaders still operate uh, in a let's say unidirectional approach, or maybe I would say uh, very authoritarian approach. uh, and the funny part is, be it on their social platforms or on their marketing communications or personal planning platforms, they talk a lot about inclusiveness, but
Hmm.
still there is a lot of authoritarian driven organizations that exist, uh, which might not look at play in the, let's say, the frontline management, or in the midline, for that matter, middle line management, but it is a lot happening in the amongst themselves, the clash of the egos that you call, or whatever you call it. And it also goes, the effects also goes to the middle level management, right? And it is still there, okay, it's there. And you know what, I have also experienced this in mid-size, uh, and even of course in startups. So okay, they can still run away with that, but I don't want them also to run away. So this is a very serious, I would say, a mindset issue. I would say a serious sociological issue, and also a very serious, I would say, uh, uh, I mean, approach driven issue, right? In my understanding, I feel world needs more templates, I would say, in a very broader way. Template in terms of, okay, we need to follow this way of working or X way of working. So I'll just give you an example. Okay, I don't know in depth, so I mean, I would want viewers to deep dive on that, because I have learned, and I'm just through my reading and research I'm sharing. There's a concept called as teal, TEAL. Okay, and there is I mean, there are definitely a lot of companies, they put it, there is no hierarchy in our organization. Okay, some of them follow, but then it's all on the website. It's not actually happening on real, right? So Pradna, that's it. I'm not putting any point. I think the reason I brought this up because of the insights that you shared, and I want people to realize, whoever is watching, to that, hey, like, these things are happening. Are we paying attention? Are we really trying to create solutions around it? Are we really being intentional about following a process? Like, for example, I am personally inspired by Basecamp's approach in the way they work. That's the founder of Basecamp, Jason Fried, and David Heinemeier. Like, I'm just giving one example. Could be many. There are many wonderful examples. uh, I just want these templates, their way of working, it should be out and open for the corporate leaders and business leaders and startup leaders to look and see, hey, you know what? I'll share one more thing, and maybe then you can share your observations and comments. Let's say, when it comes to accounting, when it comes to managing finances, or when it comes to product launch or service launch, you ensure that you're using all the blue ocean strategies of the world. You're using all the subscription models or business models or MVPs of the world to design that, and you expect, nothing should be out of that framework. In a mid-size or a traditional organization, correct me if I'm wrong, Pradnya, later, that a lot of things are very system driven and they would want this to happen in that particular way. But why not when it comes to designing the human structure of the organization? Why not when, like, what to do, what are the steps to do so that the leader doesn't be too autocratic? What needs to be done? Why not processes there? Why not processes where it's been 3 months, the group of employees are, that they are complaining, they are cribbing about the particular work, or there is a big, I mean, I'm not talking about the gossip part of it, but I'm talking about the real reason why, there are famous quotes that come out that people don't leave organizations, they leave managers or they leave bosses. Why there is no system to it? Or, I mean, if it's there, why not, why the adoption rate is so low? So this is something that I want, the audience to introspect on. And Pradna, feel free to share your comments, observations. Go ahead.
This is a very interesting, point that you brought up, Sagar. And as you rightly said, right, your observation is on spot, because we are in this transition phase, right now. So there are certain organizations who have sensed, this wind of change, and they are proactively, making, putting together the processes and templates, and really, changing their leadership style, leadership approach, and who are going to survive and thrive in the future of work for sure, right? However, those who are not really acting on it, I would say, uh, one is like, they have this mindset of, okay, we have always, done things like this, right? So
Yeah.
there, they have this blind spot. Second point is, they are not aware of the new social contract.
Mm,
Basically, this pandemic has accelerated, this process of establishing a new social contract, wherein, employees are really holding the pain. So basically, this is time wherein the employers need to they need to reverse the perspective, and they need to listen to the employees. Okay, so I think those companies, they have a false sense of control, so they feel that, okay, because we are giving salaries, we still have power, right? So it's power dynamics also, right? So they feel that, okay, whatever we are asking people to do, right, asking employees to do, they must follow it because we are giving them salaries, right? That's where you can see this mindset of, asking people to return to office 5 days a week, right? Not really asking them about their preferences, right? So that's the mindset, that which is driving us, right? So I think this is a huge wake up call for them, right? So this, like, if I have to, think of an analogy, if you remember, in earlier days when, Amazon was a like started the services in India. So a lot of the, grocery store owners, like, they were protesting it, right? But then, do we go to kirana store, right? To, let's say, if I need 5 kg of rice, do I go to kirana store or do I order it on Amazon, right? I don't ask anybody's permission. I do whatever is easier for me. So similarly, the employers have to shift the perspective and think from employee standpoint. Okay, if, I'm an employee, is it easier for me to just, work from home 3 days a week, or is it, why am I making it difficult for my employees to contribute for my company growth, for my company profits, right? So they have to shift their perspective and think it, the other way around. Because if and it's also about, being futuristic here, right? So look at the example of Nokia, right? So that's the, example which is famously quoted, right? uh, the Nokia CEO, who almost, like, who was into tears. So it's
Mm,
all about sensing the change, the and then really, taking time to understand about new social contract, and just, having that awareness. Okay, so let's, do it, in a very practical manner. So with this Gen AI explosion, right? Do you think, are we going to, like, operate in the traditional office structure? For, let's say, if I have to think about next 5 years, do you think 5 years down the line you will have everybody coming to office every day, and you'll have people working together within the same job title, same role? Not at all. You can't even imagine. Like, I'm sure, a lot of roles are going to go away 5 years down the line, right? And you might have, a lot of, like, fusion workforce, wherein you have, some workers who are full time, and you have some contractual and some freelancers, and then maybe some machines who will be working together. So it's all about, also being thinking about being futuristic and think about what's really coming, and instead of denying it, okay, why not ask ourselves, how can I prepare myself for the future? How can I make my organization a futuristic one, the which, employees want to work with? And unless they do that, they are simply going to perish. I would say, yeah, such companies are simply going to perish. They won't be there.
yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, Pradnya, for sharing your perspective. It was a wonderful, I would say, wonderful conversation. I think we covered a lot about remote leadership, gained some wonderful insights on thriving to greatness, the wonderful book that you have co-authored. Wonderful to know about some of the inspiring chapters of the authors of the book. And thank you for giving insights and opening up a dialogue, which I'm sure viewers would introspect and reflect. you know one interesting uh, you know uh, One interesting perspective I have gained in the last few months is, if you ask yourself the right question, solutions are thus there. So I think I am also learning a lot in this context. It's not about the answers, it's about the right question, because solutions are already there. So this is something that I have learned. And thank you, Pradnya, for being a game changer, being a leader that you are. And I know offline I have a wonderful support and a friend like you, so I feel blessed. And thank you, viewers, for once again joining in and constantly inspiring me to build on this dialogue. Yeah. Pradnya, just last question: if viewers would like to connect with you, what is the best way they can reach out?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on my LinkedIn. And, like, my social handle is @the Pradnya Patil. So you can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, whatever you want. And my email is thepradnapatil@gmail.com. So I would love to connect with you. And Sagar, it was amazing discussion. I really, enjoyed talking with you. And like you said, I also, feel so blessed that, I have a great supporting friend like you. So thanks for having me today.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.